Hello and welcome to Never Seen It. This is a podcast about movies we haven't seen yet. My name is Trent. I'm here with Betsy.
Oh, hello, everyone.
Betsy's here to help me host because we're going to be covering yet another Oscar-nominated movie for Best Picture. Today's selection is going to be Past Lives. Now, Betsy, I have said that this movie is probably the one that I have been looking forward to the most. We saw a trailer for this one months and months ago. This is before any kind of Oscar buzz or anything like that. We were on our kick of just watching a bunch of trailers that had recently come out, and it really intrigued me. So before we get into what I have to say about it, Betsy, what do you know about this movie?
I know a number of people that have this movie ranked either in their top or at the top of their list for best movies of last year. I suspect that watching this, it's gonna ruin me just based on what I know about it, based on the reactions that people have been having about it. Mm-hmm. There is a fervor behind this movie, and frankly, it was kind of the one that I was waiting to see if it would squeak in because it didn't have quite as much oomph behind it as a lot of the other nominations. Mm-hmm. But it had enough momentum to sneak into the top 10.
It's kind of had this simmer about it that has been going the entire year, and I'm glad that it finally actually got some recognition and was included in this bunch. You said that you had been hearing other people talk about this movie saying that it was their top one. I was just listening to a podcast earlier today. Not a movie podcast, it was just a podcast about something else, and they brought this movie up, saying it was their favorite movie of last year. And again, it's not a movie podcast. They're not talking about Oscars. It was just their favorite movie, period.
And this came out way back in June. So again, there's been some movies the last few years that have had some staying power and managed to make it all the way to the end of the year and still be in the conversation. So that's why I always worry when a movie opens so early. Is anyone going to remember it? Yeah. But it's been so impactful to people that, they fucking remember it. So as far as what is actually going on in the movie, I know this was written and directed by Celine Song. I have not seen any of her movies as far as I'm aware. I don't know if this is her first one, her third one. I have no idea. I know people are ecstatic she got nominated for an Oscar, but not in the category they wanted. I'm sure we'll get to more of that after we watch the movie. The star is Greta Lee. You probably don't know exactly who she is, but weirdly, I just before this movie came out, kind of started knowing who she was. She was on that Netflix show Russian Doll, which I watched like last fall or the beginning of last year, like right about the time this movie was about to be released. So I actually knew who she was, at least for one thing. She also had a voice in Across the Spider-Verse. She's that little computerized character, Lila, that shows up and says, do that thing. She does that voice. So you at least have heard her voice, whether you've seen her in anything or not. And the only other person I know who's in it, the guy who plays her husband, is one of the guys who was in The Big Short.
Yeah, I watched a trailer for a recent trailer for this one like a couple of weeks ago, and I first didn't recognize him because he has a beard.
He looks very different.
He looks very different, and much older, of course, because, hey, it's been a long time since The Big Short came out. And yeah, he's one of the, garage investors. I have no idea what his name is, but he's one of those guys. He's the shorter of the two. But other than him, I don't know anybody else in this movie. Greta Lee is a name that I probably have heard before. But besides those two, I have no idea.
And then as far as the plot, my understanding is she was maybe born in Korea, and then her family moved to America. But there was something going on where she had this love as a little kid, like they were best friends. They were, childhood sweethearts kind of a thing.
With another boy.
With another boy. And then as an adult, she goes back and they reconnect. And the majority of this movie is in Korean, as I understand it. It is an American entry, but it's not in English.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that event changes things and complicates things.
Yeah, my understanding here is that she moves to America, she marries a white guy, and something brings her back to Korea, or the dude comes to America. Somehow these two young people who knew each other hook back up much later in life, and they just reconnect in whatever way that they can.
And re-examine their life choices.
Yeah, and I think that's really where the title comes in, because of course, past lives. You think, okay, what could have been? What was my life? What was my life going to be if I were to have never left for America, if I had gone back earlier, or a whole bunch of different scenarios go through your brain. And I think that's really what I'm going to be here for. The reason I'm really interested in this is those questions, because everybody has those
what if,
those what ifs. Like, if I had not gone to this school, if I had not chosen this major, if I had not dropped out of college, if I had not moved to this city, all of these little minute things, even giant things, can make a huge ripple effect in the rest of your life.
Yeah, so I expect this movie to be maybe really dialogue driven and tug at my heartstrings. I'm waiting for the tears, Trent. I'm just waiting. I have this feeling based on what I have heard, what I know, that this is going to be one that I don't make it through.
And I think if there's any movie that is going to do the same thing to me, it is this one, because I got the vibes here from this movie, this trailer anyway. What I think is going to do to me the same thing that the movie Her did to me back in 2010, 2012, whatever it was.
2013, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, the movie Her by Spike Jonze fucking ruined me. I have never actually gone back to rewatch the movie Her, but because the movie spoke to me on such a personal level, I feel like Spike Jonze just kind of burrowed into my brain and took out a story from my life and put it on the screen. It was a very weird feeling to be in that theater, especially when we were first dating. We saw that movie when we were first dating, so that must have been 2011, 2012. That being said, I have a feeling that this movie is going to also wreck me, and I don't know what else to say.
Let's go get wrecked, Trent.
Let's go get wrecked. We're going to go and watch Past Lives. We'll be right back. And we are back. Betsy, did we know each other in a past life?
It's hard to say. I don't know for sure. I can't prove it. Stop asking me all these questions.
What did you think of the movie?
Well, I wasn't ugly crying at the end of the movie, but to say I made it through without crying would be a lie. Yeah. It was really beautiful. That's a really nice movie. And I like when we get a nice movie in the bunch.
Yeah.
And it just makes you think really hard about your life and every choice you've ever made and the what if questions, as you said.
Yeah.
I get why everybody is really up in arms about this should have gotten some more recognition, because there's some really beautiful filmmaking in this movie with the way they build the tension and with the way they release the tension and how you can read what everybody is thinking even though they don't even speak the same language as we do. And yeah, I get it. I definitely get why people are on about this movie.
Yeah, I feel like the same way here. Like you said, I didn't have the big emotional reaction that I was expecting based on what I knew about the movie.
We tempered our expectations, I think.
I think so. It was really good, though. There was only one moment there that kind of got me going a little bit here. It was really their conversation at the bar towards the very end where he finally lets it all out. Throughout the movie, you're thinking, okay, this is the same guy from 12 years ago when they hooked up again. He's this guy who isn't quite an adult yet. he hasn't moved out of his parents' house. He doesn't really have a good job yet. He doesn't have a girlfriend. He doesn't really have any life prospects. But no, that was 12 years ago. A lot of things have happened. And he finally reveals that, yeah, no, I actually didn't have a girlfriend. I'm pretty well set in my life here, and I basically came here to see whether or not you were in a good position in your life. And if you weren't, I would have done something about it.
He wanted to close a chapter on the book because for their whole lives, for the last 24 years, they have had this question mark in the back of their brains about, well, what about that person? And I didn't know going into this movie that we were going to get 2 meetings. I figured it was literally their kids and then nothing in between. But that just made it even more devastating because at the time they reconnected in this really bizarre way, just by chance, like literally just by chance, she thought of his name and Googled it basically.
Yeah, she was on the phone with her mom, and you know how mothers are because, you know, they remember your childhood friends.
They know every one of them. You know them. They live down the street and went to church with us.
I haven't thought of that person in 20 years.
But they know all the names. And this would have been contextually about the time Facebook was starting up. It wasn't nearly as prevalent. This was still kind of at like the peak of Facebook where everybody across the globe was getting on it.
And that's the point, across the globe. Because, of course, it started off as just a U.S. college thing. Then it opened up to other people within, I guess, the United States. And then they started to build it out from there.
But yeah, she finds her dad's Facebook page for a movie he made. And her friend just, knowing that this was her dad, threw it out in the universe.
Yeah.
I'm looking for my friend and this is her name. And she saw it months later, but she saw it. This is a total fluke. The chances of this happening were fairly minute. He was looking for somebody with one name. She's moved to Canada and changed her name. So, of course, on social media, she's something else. But they managed to connect. And then they start Skyping with each other. And they have this months-long, whatever you want to call it, reconnection.
Yeah.
And I did not know that we were going to get this in this part of the movie. And of course, when you're about, 24 years old and you're in a new place and he was in school and she was in a new city and they don't know anybody. And
she's kind of in a new career that she has to kind of focus on.
And there's this familiar face, a familiar entity. You can't help but reach out towards that.
And you haven't had that familiar face, familiar language around you.
Familiar anything, no familiarity.
Right. You haven't had that for so long. You haven't seen this person for a dozen years. Of course you're going to want to, catch up with them and see what they're all about. And then you realize, oh shit, the connection is still there. I spent so much time with them in my youth, and I guess the connection was real. So you just continue on, you continue on. And this other person starts to take up so much more of your free time.
And your mind space and your heart and your feelings. And like when they first have their first Skype call and she's like skipping down the street, she's excited to go and talk to him.
Like she goes home early because she knows there's a big time difference.
Trent, like when you and I started dating, before we had our official date, we were emailing a lot. And that is that feeling when it's like a new person in your life and you're getting to know them and, ooh, they responded. It's that little spark of excitement, something new and interesting.
And as long as we're on the kick of talking about us, we met through Match.com, and when she says email, it was just messaging through the Match.com service. Now, you didn't have home internet at your apartment.
Nope.
So you didn't have ready access to the internet. You couldn't see my messages immediately. You didn't have a smartphone. You didn't have any kind of internet except for at work and when you went to the library. So it was that extra special moment when you knew you got a message from me and you had to actually physically go somewhere to see them.
Yes.
And on occasion, I think there was even one time you had left town, you went to a wedding in Chicago, and I think you paid for a little short session of data on your dumb phone
Probably.
in order to see the messages from me.
Or I had some access to a computer. I don't remember exactly.
Still, you went out of your way in order to get the message.
But
so
that's...
you get the sentiment here about, hey, I am just so excited to have this one extra thing because you've been lacking it for so long.
And it's something that's mine. And they're just connecting in a way that I don't think either of them expected to connect. And you can tell when she makes the realization, like, this is getting to be too intense because we live half a world away. They're 13 hours apart or whatever that time difference is.
Yeah.
And they're spending so much time with each other, but they're not real, as it were. You know, there's no possibility. Like she has her confrontation with him, which is basically, are you gonna come and see me?
When is the first opportunity for you to come to New York?
It's going to be at least a year and a half because he's a student, he's learning a new language, and it's really important to him, and he doesn't want to give that up.
Yeah, there's a path that he has to take. He has to go to China. He wants to start to learn Mandarin.
Yeah.
And she is involved in whatever this job is.
And she's not going to be done for a year.
Yeah.
And they come to the realization that if it's not going to be now, then this has to stop because she is getting real emotional. And I love that they talk about the fact that when she was a kid, she was a crybaby. And they show her at the beginning of the movie, she cries about everything. And they talk at length how she cries about everything. And then when they reconnect, she says, yeah, I don't do that anymore. It's not a thing I do. When I first moved, I was really sad, and then I realized no one cared, so I stopped.
Yeah. You weren't there to comfort me, so I stopped doing it.
No one was there to comfort me. My parents didn't care. My sister didn't care. No one cared.
Yeah,
so
no one knew who was here, cared about my plight.
Yeah.
So you know what? I just sucked it up, and I got used to it.
And when she's about to get on that call, and then when she gets done with the call, the direction here where they're like, so close to her, the camera is so close, and you can see she's right on the edge.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't cry, but she is right on the edge. And that's why she has to call it off. She has to get out of the situation because it's a devastating thing. Like there's a reason so many people will not even attempt long distance relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Like an hour, 2 hours is too much because you cannot just have that immediacy. And being all the way across the fucking world, if you were to try to decide, is this more than just talking on Skype? Is this more than just friendship? Like, taking that leap in an impossible situation, your choices are very slim. You either need to dive headfirst and figure out how to spend a lot more time together.
Yeah.
Or you need to call it off, and she calls it off.
Yeah, and there's a couple of different elements to that. It is not only just the fact that they are spending every waking moment together, and I mean waking because she gets up early. She gets up at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Stays up late.
And because it's better for him. He interrupts his own schedule in order to make this work. So they're putting in effort. And not only are they, setting aside time for the Skype calls, she's also like emailing him during work hours. They show her in this big conference room talking about whatever they're talking about. And she's very engaged the first time we see her in there. In subsequent, viewings in there, you see her on her laptop and she's typing something in Korean.
Not doing work.
And like one of her coworkers is looking over like, what are you doing? I can't understand what you're doing over there.
How I met my husband, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it's true.
I was working on emailing my husband.
And of course, the other element, like you said, is she's becoming a lot more invested here. And she realizes that, it's just not going to go any further. And I don't know whether or not they actually want it to go any further.
They basically had a breakup. Like way that conversation, that was a breakup.
It was.
And he even says, it's not like we were dating or anything. Okay, bye.
Yeah, and him
literally just, okay, bye.
Yeah, and him being kind of an immature, guy, he kind of, he doesn't throw a fit, but he just kind of says, "Oh, okay, I guess we're not even dating. So, okay, goodbye."
I mean, he wasn't rude about it, but
He
you could tell
wasn't.
he was like, I gotta get out of this conversation because this is not the conversation I wanted to
Yeah,
have.
he was a sad puppy dog.
Yeah. And you're right. He didn't act like an immature boy, but he was at that time very young.
Yeah, he even said, "You're right. You're right. I don't like that you're right, but you're right."
Yeah. We were babies when we were 12. We were babies then.
Yeah.
So that hurt. Like adding that extra element to they kind of almost went there. And that was when they were both young and single. If they had been in the same place, yeah, what would have happened? What if they had had the means to travel? What if they had connected at that time? What if he had come to New York?
Yeah, what if he was visiting? What if she was visiting? And it just so happened that, hey, I remember, I heard that my old friend was living in New York. I'm going to see if she's around. Did she change her name? Oh, I heard she changed her name to this. There's so many different things that could have happened where they could have, hooked up at that time and they could have done the thing that she did with her eventual husband. They met at this retreat for writers and they were both single at the time. She wanted to live in New York and he just happened to live in New York, and
they kind of just fell into each other.
The relationship was one of convenience.
To begin with, yeah. But they also liked each other.
Yeah.
It just kind of moved along quicker than maybe it would have otherwise.
Yeah, she ended up getting married earlier than what they were expecting because of the green card situation.
Well, yeah, she's a Korean who moved to Canada, who moved to the United States.
Right.
Like, if she got Canadian citizenship, she's still not an American citizen.
Right. And I've heard a whole lot of different stories about people who are, in the U.S. and they don't have permanent residence, and it is a complete nightmare going through that entire process. So I get it.
Well, and the way they do it in this movie, they make their relationship intentionally sound so unromantic and so uninteresting. Like they just sort of run into each other, they hook up, they decide to move in to save money, they decide to get married to get a green card, and they're just very comfortable together. Like it's not this exciting story. It's just it happened. That's life, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes people, they meet in a bar or, when your cars collide on the street or some mundane thing.
And that's the thing. These two people are writers. So even he points out, our story is not interesting.
If I were writing this story, your story is so much more interesting than mine.
Yeah, if your childhood sweetheart gets in touch with you and you have the opportunity to have this love of a lifetime with this person, why wouldn't you want to do that?
And I'm the evil white husband getting in your way.
Right. So coming at it from that perspective, from a romantic writer's perspective, I get how, he's a little insecure because his story isn't good enough. He isn't good enough.
That scene with the two of them in bed together, where he says to her, "You make my life feel so much bigger." I'm like, oh my God.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That is honestly one of the more beautiful, intense lines in this movie. And it's not from the person you expect it to come from. Right. Because he's not a bad guy. They are in love. Like, we as movie viewers are so trained that this is how romance works. There has to be a winner and a loser. And, clearly these two are destined to be together and he's just in the way. Like, he calls out. But he is so nice and understanding. And he's not, like, he is and he isn't jealous. Like, he mostly feels left out because there's a language barrier. He's sitting there with them, but he can't communicate with this guy. There are so many awkward scenes in this movie where it's all about the language barrier or just, we haven't seen each other in so long. We do not know how to act around each other. There's so much of that in this movie.
And because there is such a gap there, not just in enthusiasm, but time. Like, these two have spent 2 days together. They have not seen each other in over 20 years. of course there's going to be a gap in their enthusiasm for seeing each other.
The comfort level.
Yeah. So the Arthur character is an interesting one because he's this writer guy who spends his free time playing video games. He says I'm just this white Jew who lives in New York.
He's an average American guy, basically, who does not understand Korean culture. And after she returns from her first meetup in modern times, she says he's so Korean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like Korean. He's not American Korean.
Yeah,
he is Korean.
She
Korean.
says, I have Korean friends,
Yeah.
and even they're not Korean. They're Korean American.
Yeah, and you can tell the distinction of how he acts while he's walking around.
Yeah.
It's not just that he is uncomfortable and unsure of himself in this situation. It's that he's uncomfortable and unsure of himself in New York City.
Of course.
Like he is walking around with this suitcase and he is so tense. Like his entire physical form is very uptight. And she is so casual. Did you notice that juxtaposition?
Oh, yeah.
Where she is wearing these beautiful, like, flowy linen clothes and just strolling. And it's this great visual to remind you that they're very different people. Like, they might have this long-standing connection, but the person he knew when they were kids and the person she is now, they're different people. They are. And they might have this really intense draw toward each other and this really intense connection, but sometimes that's all it is. You know, I've met people, like you could talk about just every person you've ever had a crush on or every friend. We've talked about this on the podcast, Trent. You had a lot of female friends when you were in your 20s, and there was a lot of that will they, won't they, but you would have a crush and then it would pass. But then they would have a crush and then it would pass. It's all the what ifs. It's what if our timing had lined up, you know? And we've talked about all the things that had to fall into place for you and I to meet.
Totally. You know, I was looking through some old photographs today, and I saw one that I had taken in 2009, and it was just after I had got my first cat, and it was a picture of my cat. And in the photo, I'm sitting at a desk and I'm writing something because way long time ago, I used to write. So this is why this story is very personal to me as well. I used to have a blog and I would write about a whole bunch of stuff. Whatever happens to be on my mind, whether it be, opinions about stuff or poetry or whatever. Now, I wrote a poem about this person that Betsy and I both know. She was a good friend of mine, and at the time, I didn't really know what the situation was. She was married, and we had a really good connection. This is well before I met Betsy. And in the thing I wrote was something what you're talking about here. In a different time, in a different place. I remember this line very well. In a different time, in a different place, I would be the one that you would embrace. And that is the entire sentiment of this film. If so many different things would have fallen in Hae Sung's way, he would be in a much happier place. Which is why he is holding on to this idea of past lives. And I apologize, I'm getting emotional. He is holding on to the idea that, you know what, because of my belief system in whatever the Korean belief system is,
or his own personal belief,
whatever it happens to be, because of that, I can tell myself that, you know what, I don't know what the rest of this current life is, but I don't know what my next life is going to be. And if my next life can actually be with you, I'm going to hold out hope that that's going to come true. And that's a really hard thing to really talk about, because you just don't know what could have been.
Oh yeah, before I met you, I went on a couple of dates with somebody else on Match.com.
Yeah, through Match.
And if that hadn't fallen apart, I wouldn't have been on Match when you got on Match. So it's that thing of, okay, well, that had to happen. But I also had to break up with my ex. And before that, I had to be working my job the day I ran into him at my job.
Yeah.
And I had to be standing in this particular spot or I never would have seen him. And before that, it's like how far back you have to go for all the dominoes that have to fall into place for you and I to be sitting here with a podcast at this moment.
And for me in 2011, I got my current job. And I started to make more money. I was feeling a little bit more confident about things because, yay, I got a new job. I'm in a better place in my life. I'm going to message somebody that I used to talk to on MySpace.
MySpace, guys!
Oh, yeah.
We're old.
I met this girl through MySpace that she and I would message back and forth all night. And when I say all night, I mean all night, because I worked an overnight job at a hotel.
You were awake.
And she was an insomniac, like a diagnosed insomniac. So
sounds like a match made in heaven.
She would be up all night, and her and I were talking the entire night while I worked, of course, because there's nothing else to do when you work at a hotel. But I digress. So I messaged her because I was into her and I was really interested in maybe hooking up. And I messaged her on Facebook. I never got a response. I didn't pour my heart out, but at the very least I shot my shot. But I got nothing back.
Silence.
And because of that, I said, you know what? I can spend the $60 or whatever it is for a Match.com membership. And I did it. I made a profile, and Betsy was the first person I went on a date with through Match. Not the first person I messaged. I was talking with 2 or 3 other gals at the time.
I was the first and only one you went on a date with, though.
That's
right.
That's right. So here we are today talking to you folks about this here Oscar movie.
But there's a lot of really personal things in this movie that I can connect to. So I understand completely why so many people are like, yes, this movie. This is the movie.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't gone through some version of this, you are exceptionally lucky. Because the number of times you have unrequited crushes or long distance relationships or people that you would like to date, but it never really works out.
Yeah.
And even just not a romantic sort of thing, but when they meet up and they just say, wow,
yeah,
wow. They have not seen each other in the flesh for 24 years. It's a bizarre experience to see someone that you know really well for the first time after a long time. Like when we went to my college reunion for my 10-year, I saw people I had not seen in a decade, but it's like I just saw them because I recognize their faces and I know that feeling of what it's like to be with them, and they're exactly the same and they haven't changed, and I'm so excited to see them. But also people just since we've done this podcast, we've met people online. I've never met them in the flesh. Our Twitter friends that we're making, if I actually meet them, it's gonna be so strange because you're so familiar with the idea of these people.
Sure.
But you don't actually know them. So yeah, for them to just intensely stare at each other and say, wow, yeah, that's an appropriate reaction.
Well, and even his reaction is really strange because he says, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. How do you do this?
Yeah, what do you do?
How do you meet someone that you haven't met in 20 plus years, but you know them on a level that you cannot explain?
And he says, we haven't talked in 12 years, right? He doesn't know the answer. He plays it off like he hasn't been thinking of this moment for 12 years. But yeah, they connect in this way, when they meet in their 20s. And they finished their first conversation, and they've been talking for 7 hours?
Yeah,
probably.
She got home from work and then immediately got onto Skype, and they've been talking until midnight.
And he's about to sign off, and he kind of hesitates, and he says, I feel weird saying this, and I don't know if I should say this, but she says, say it. And he says, I missed you. That feels like such a weird thing to say, but the fact they were both thinking it. He just said it first. Mm-hmm. And she says, I missed you too. And this is somebody you haven't seen in 12 years. It's a very real thing. I have people in my life that I don't see that much, that I haven't spoken to. I have a friend from college that is not on social media. She kind of doesn't email. She doesn't do I don't know how I would connect with this person if I wanted
She's
to.
Kind of a Luddite.
Yeah. if were to see her, it would be the first time in 15 years. And by accounts, I have friends who have talked to her who are a little bit more in touch with her. And they say she's exactly the same. And I would turn into 18-year-old me who had so much fun with her while we were in college because she's the same person and I'm the same person. And it's that thing where you think about them all the time, but we're never in the same room. We never talk. So when he's like, we haven't talked in 12 years, I know that feeling. I haven't talked to this person in 15 years, save a scarce email. I think we're linked.
It's like you, I remember you went to Austin, Texas for a conference of some kind. And there was a person that you had gone to college with and you were really good friends with. And he was living a reputation in college of like being really, really lovey-dovey on a lot of different people. He was like linked to dating like 15 people at the same time.
People thought we were dating.
But that was just the personality. Yeah. You never dated, but you were really good friends.
Yeah.
You went to Austin. He just happened to be living there. And you all went out with, it was he and his girlfriend at the time. And you had a grand old time.
Yeah. And it was
like nothing ever happened.
It was like no time had passed.
Right.
And he was just like, sometimes you meet people and you don't think about them all the time. And then you see them and they're just like the best people. I just love you so much. And I was just like, thank you.
And see, you, not to really focus too much on us, but
I feel like you have to with this movie. This
is
why it's so personal for so many people.
It is. And, you have a much easier time, I think, meeting people and connecting with people, especially with online people. I used to have that, but I've been on the internet for so long.
You got there before me.
Yeah.
I'm late to the party.
You're way late to the internet party. And I just got so, I don't know if I want to call it burnt out, but maybe just burned.
I was just going to say, because you literally just explained a situation where you got burned because you shot your shot and got nothing in return.
And that was a more relationship thing. But
still.
I know, I would love to have, more online friendships, but it's harder for me to have that trust of another person that I will never meet or very unlikely will ever meet.
Meanwhile, I inherited my dad's trait for I will literally talk to anybody about anything. I'm an oversharer. I'm very sorry. If we've never met in person, but we've talked online, you probably know more about me than some of my closest friends do.
Yeah, and that's the thing that Betsy and I differ about. She is the friendliest person you will ever meet. She will talk anybody's ear off about whatever topic that you want, and I am the same, but the opposite. I love having like long, deep conversations, which is why I love podcasting so much. I love to have long, deep conversations, but I can't stand the fleetingness of Twitter and Instagram comments and shit like that.
You don't like small talk.
I don't like small talk. I want to have a connection with someone. That's why social media doesn't jive with me.
And why I have to bring you along. Because if we're together, I bring it out of you.
Exactly. I will absolutely talk someone's ear off about a topic that I'm very interested in, but I can't fake it.
Trent, did you ever think, 13 or whatever years ago before we met, that you'd have a podcast?
Probably.
That you truly
Probably.
Though, like by yourself with another human? Did you think this would be a thing you'd be interested in doing?
Betsy, I've been listening to podcasts now since about 2005. So
you invented podcasting.
No, but I have been in it for a very, very long time.
Hipster, you're such a hipster.
Which is why I feel like this whole medium is very important for, people who used to. Radio isn't a thing anymore, and even television is going the way of the dodo in a certain way. It is the personality-driven, long-form content that I really enjoy because you get to know the people behind it, which is a very long way of saying, let's keep talking about the movie.
Yeah, let's bring it back to the fact that they can meet at all. Like, this is a very modern thing. You can just meet somebody one time halfway around the world and then find them on the internet. Like, that's just a beautiful thing that couldn't have happened 30 years ago.
Betsy, I remembered something that I needed to bring up about me again.
Oh, God. Bring it back to the movie. Quit. But first, let me talk about me some more.
I need to talk about me some more. I actually had another kind of, and this is maybe another thing that kind of got me out of it. When I was doing my writing early on, some girl from Australia, about my age, she was an Asian girl who was living in Australia, about to go to university. And she and I connected on this really strange way that I didn't really understand what was happening, because I thought of her as just, hey, she's an internet friend. She and I will talk about whatever we wanted to talk about. And I can maybe learn some things from her, and she can learn some things from me. Like, some of the things that I remember talking about, like, was the weather. And I said, oh yeah, it's going to be like 90 degrees where I was. And she was flabbergasted because she didn't take into effect, oh, Fahrenheit, Celsius.
She thought you were on fire.
Right? Something like that. And of course, she was younger than me, so, some of the things didn't really translate all that well. But, I learned a lot about her culture. She learned a lot about, me. And I remember having this conversation about, hey, what kind of girls are you into? What kind of guys are you into? And of course, I'm like 19 years old, so I say, well, I'm in Nowhereville, South Dakota. Pretty much all I got around me are white chicks, so I guess white girls. And she was kind of disappointed because I didn't say anything about her. And I have a feeling that she had kind of a crush on me.
She was fishing. She was fishing for a compliment.
Yeah, and I said, yeah, I have nothing against, Asian girls or whoever else, but I don't have any of those around me, so what can I say?
You have an abundance of blondes, brunettes, and maybe the rare redhead.
Right.
But they're all white.
So
that's where we live.
So that would have been another kind of situation where if we had kept in touch, maybe at one point I would have visited Australia or otherwise.
I doubt it immensely, because that's not who you are. You're not going to fly halfway around the world on a chance, on a whim.
I don't know.
It's
know.
Not who you are.
Betsy,
to bring it back to the movie.
I was a different person back
then.
To
bring it back to the movie. They have the scene with her and her husband where she's like, do you know me? You know me. I'm not going to leave you for this guy. And her husband says, yes, I know you. I know you. It's the relationship they've built together. Like, do you know me at all? Like, do you trust me? Like, they're not jealous, but there's clearly things that they haven't done together, that they haven't told each other. He had no idea she was a crybaby. That's never come up in the 12 years they've been together. That's never come up. Or she went on the ferry to the Statue of Liberty, and he says, I've never done that. She's like, you're telling me we've never done that? I could have sworn we did that.
She even said together.
Together.
So she had gone
Yeah.
with somebody else, apparently.
She was absolutely convinced she and her husband had done this. Though, I will say, having been together with someone for 12 plus years, there are things that I am convinced we have done, and you're like, no, we have not. And vice versa.
Yeah.
It starts to blend together after a while, like, we did that. No, the only thing you and I can definitively say we've never done together is bowling.
Bowling. We've never gone bowling together. We have been bowling separately.
Individually.
Not together.
Never together, which is very weird because your dad worked at a bowling alley.
We've joked about it. We were going to go on our 10-year anniversary. We never did it.
No.
We never did it.
We'll wait till the 20th.
Well, I guess speaking of awkward dates, I want to talk about this bar scene where they're sitting at the bar and just kind of talking. But not just the ending scene. The movie starts with them at the bar, all three of them together. And it isn't them talking. It is a third-person perspective of somebody else in that bar talking about that trio.
They're playing that game that we like to play where you're just looking at strangers trying to figure them out.
What's their story? What's the relationship here?
And they're saying, okay, I think that her and the white guy are a couple and that's her brother, Or maybe the other two are a couple. Honestly, I don't know.
Or they could just be colleagues because they don't really go together.
Yeah. And they end by saying, I genuinely have no idea. And that sets up the whole movie for they also have no idea. And I thought it was going to be a lot more complicated. And don't get me wrong, it definitely is complicated, but there's no lines that get crossed.
Yeah, and I attribute that to the fact that, you know what? Everybody here is in their mid-30s.
They're mature adults who know who they are.
No one's gonna go off and do something stupid.
But again, it's that thing, the trope of being a movie viewer. You are programmed to expect this movie to go a certain way, which is what I think helps with the tension. Like, there are some sequences where they are just really intensely looking at each other.
Yeah.
And like in that final bar scene where it's very awkward, and then the two of them just kind of start talking in Korean, and they loosen up. Like, they literally, the camera cuts her husband out of frame.
I was just going to say,
we're going to just exclude him entirely from this.
Yeah, that scene starts with them all kind of talking amongst each other.
Being awkward.
And when there's a portion where Arthur isn't going to understand all the words, she interprets between the two of the guys, but eventually gets to the point where, hey, these two are just going to start talking in Korean and continuing catching up.
And he is also there.
And Arthur's still also there just drinking by himself, basically. And like you said, once it gets past that certain point, the camera just kind of frames up those two and cuts out Arthur completely. He's there, he's still hearing everything, but there is one more thing that I wanted to mention about that. Arthur does know some Korean.
He's probably getting certain words.
And I'm sure he is getting some of this, but we really don't know how well he does or does not understand. There could be a very large portion that he is getting, while the friend is just laying it all out there.
He basically tells her that he at one point in his life at least, was in love with her.
Yeah.
Even though I was only 12, I was in love with you. And I keep thinking about, what if this and what if that and what if this?
Would we have kids together by now if we would have ended up together?
I have a flood of very strange thoughts now that I'm seeing you in person.
Yeah.
But he also comes to the realization that it's better this way and that you are going to be your best self being here.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have been the same person if you had stayed. You would have outgrown that place and it wouldn't have worked probably.
Yeah, New York City works best for you. He said, you know, Korea was a place that you left. New York is not a place you're going to leave.
And neither's your husband.
And not just the city, but you're not going to leave your husband either.
Yeah.
And he also says the line, and I think this is the line that really got to both of us here. He said, I didn't know liking your husband would hurt this much.
There's some devastating fucking dialogue in this movie, and that is one of them. And that's the thing that kind of kickstarts that conversation where he says, I'm just going to tell you the truth.
Yeah. I'm probably never going to talk to you again.
Yeah.
And this is my opportunity to really lay it all out here. You know, he could have gone there and confessed his love. He could have done the movie trope thing. He could have went there, confessed his love, and said, you need to leave your husband and come back to Seoul with me, and blah, blah, blah. We're going to have a wonderful life back in Korea.
Some movies would have ended that way.
Yeah. He would have ended up being the villain here, and you would have hated him for it. But in this case, he realizes, yeah, you guys are actually a really good married couple, regardless of the circumstances surrounding it. And it hurts me to know that I have no chance. And not only do I not have a chance, I like your fucking husband.
Yeah. I got the answer I came here for. So it wasn't all for naught. Like, they have that final moment where she walks him to his Uber and they just kind of walk there in silence and they stare at each other. And you can feel that physical pull as he's like looking away from her and then turns towards her. And she's just got her hands down by her side. And you can feel the fucking magnet trying to pull them together. And they just stand there and let that tension build until it's like unbearable. And then the car comes. And they do that so well in this movie so many times that to throw it to Oscar, I understand. I understand why people wanted Celine's song to get nominated because that's not easy to do, to make that tension so palpable.
It's not easy to frame. It's not easy to know when to stop it.
Build it up and release it.
Yeah. What's the proper amount of time? Would it have been as good if they cut it off 5 seconds earlier? Or would it have been bad if they cut it off 5 seconds later? Would it have been too long?
Yeah.
I don't know. But looking at this, I think that was the right amount of time, because not only is it a really long time of them just standing there staring at each other, it's a long walk from their door to wherever the car is going to pick them up.
And then back again.
And it's a long way back.
And then when she gets back, her husband is sitting there smoking a cigarette on the stoop, and she bursts into tears.
Yeah.
And so did I. Like, genuinely, it's the thing where she cried all the time as a kid. She stopped crying, and it's really important to her as a person that she, in this moment, starts crying again. It's that thing of, you are still in touch with the person you were when you were 12. She's still in there.
Yeah.
That girl still exists.
And she said as much.
But you're you now, and she's just kind of a part of you. So when she comes rushing back to the surface, you can do nothing but cry. Like, how do you resolve that?
There's so many different layers with what's happening here, because yes, it is this person that you had a deep connection with that you're saying goodbye to. That's enough to cry.
But I cry all the time when I say bye to my friends. I cry all the time.
She does, guys. The next thing is that lingering familiarity with your homeland, Korea. You don't have a lot of physical connections to that country anymore. This is a person who has been living there this entire time, and you haven't had that connection for over 20 years. You know, I haven't lived in my hometown since 1999, and I still have some pull there to go back and visit. I have no desire to ever live there ever again, but I still want to go.
Yeah, my hometown is not that far from here.
Yeah, you're a lot closer.
I haven't been in that town in years because I haven't had a reason to. My parents don't live in the town. They live outside of town.
Right.
So I bypass the town when I'm going to see my parents at their farm.
Yeah, and I have like a couple of like cousins in my hometown, but other than that, I have no connection there anymore.
No, you go up if you're passing through, and we're rarely passing through.
No. And you know, her walking back, there's also the idea of, you know, she is staying with her husband. That is a decision that she is making here. It's not a very hard decision, but it is a decision.
And there's also grief of what you're losing.
Yeah.
Like, I've cried over like a weird dating situation where it's like we weren't really a couple, etc. And then I don't know if you just kind of know when it's over. And I was like sobbing. I'm like, why am I sobbing? We aren't even really together, but that's just who I am as a person. Like, you know, it's over and you're shutting the chapter, you're closing the book, and you're moving on. And in this movie, she's moving on. Like, they both got their answer, and that's it. And now they have to wait until their next life. And that's fucking devastating. But also, it's so beautiful because there's no animosity here. They both just kind of shrug and say, yeah, what could have been? Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be.
And, you know, the husband, you know, they had the conversation earlier about, you know, he has every right to have suspicions and to be not angry, but like upset at
or
the
weirded out,
possibility of, you know, you're going to go and hang out with your childhood crush or boyfriend or whatever you want to call it, because clearly they haven't had a lot of conversations about that. They haven't had a lot of conversations about a lot of stuff. So I think Arthur's position here is a very unique one, because all he can do is literally just sit back and watch it happen. Whatever is going to happen. But dude, she came back to you. That's all you really need.
Yeah, all he could do is trust that he actually knows his wife.
Yeah. And there is a lot of trust there because, you know, it'd be kind of strange for you to just go off and hang out with a dude that you haven't seen for 20 years for 2 days.
Yeah, they have a really sweet relationship, her and her husband.
Yeah.
Like, I buy them. I buy them as a couple. They have common interests. They are both writers. Like, they make sense together. But there is this whole other person that she used to be that it's hard for him to relate to because he's white boy New York American.
And, you know, he comes right out and says that he's basically very insecure about the relationship. He says, I'm not sure that you really love me.
And when you sleep talk, you do it in Korean. And I feel like there's this entire world you live in that I don't understand.
Which is why he is trying to attempt to be closer to that portion of her. And that's a really sweet thing for him to do, too.
He's trying.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that goes a long way.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's where we can probably end this one. Did you have anything else to talk about before we start talking Oscars?
I'm sure we could continue to find ways to make this about us. But no, I think I've said the things I wanted to talk about.
All right. Well, obviously we watched this movie because it was nominated for Best Picture. The only other Oscar it was up for is Best Original Screenplay. And, you know, it is definitely original. It is based on the director's real story. Like, she immigrated to Canada
From Korea.
Her dad was a filmmaker, and she moved to the U.S. and met her husband, who was a writer.
There's some truth to this, yes.
Yeah, and the entire story, the inspiration for her to actually write this movie was the fact that she went to a bar with her husband with a childhood, like, crush or whatever it was.
With a friend.
Yeah.
And she thought that was interesting. She's basically the husband in this movie. She's like, your story's good. I'm going to write it down.
Yeah. But as far as like the original screenplay portion, I absolutely think that it is deserving of such a thing. What do you think?
I would have to look at the other nominees for this category, but I feel like it's a beautiful screenplay. I enjoyed it thoroughly. There's some great lines in this. I would be totally happy with it winning. I have to, like I said, look at the nominees to see how it'll fare. It could be the one thing because this movie got enough oomph behind it to get in at all. If it wins anything, it would be that.
I think you're right. I mean, I don't think it has a chance to win, Best Picture. There's so many other heavy hitters here that it just doesn't have a chance.
But it's the thing of preferential voting. Enough people liked this movie enough that it got into the top 10. And that's great because so many people, as I've been saying, love this movie.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if this showed in our big theater. I know it showed in our local art house theater, but it really didn't get much of a run around here. And so many people probably have never even heard of this until last Tuesday. There are people that do not pay attention to the Oscars until the day the nominations come out.
It did get a lot bigger recognition than a lot of the other movies on that list and prior years where movies just come out of nowhere and they learn about it on the day. I do feel like Past Lives had a bigger following than what some of these kinds of movies get, but certainly not around here.
It's a lot more organic because one person saw it and loved it, and they got their friends to watch it who loved it.
Totally.
Like I keep saying, it's so personal a story that I don't know how you can watch this and not have a conversation like you and I are having, like, all the what ifs, all the things that had to happen. What if this? What if that? That is this entire movie, and everybody on planet Earth has those experiences. So it's incredibly relatable. It's very well done. I get why everybody was hoping Greta Lee would sneak into the Best Actress category.
Yeah, totally.
I also completely understand, as we touched on, why they wanted Celine Song to be up for Best Director. I'm happy it's included at all because, like you had said in the intro, you've been wanting to watch this for a while.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to see this for a while once I heard everybody saying how good it is.
And it didn't blow us away. I don't really expect any movie to blow me away because I have to have, really low expectations for something to do that. But I had high expectations for this, and I think they were met.
I think I probably even liked it better than you did.
Yeah.
But it's one of these that I'm probably going to be thinking about this movie.
I think you're right.
A lot. So we'll see where it shakes out by the time we get through all 10.
When we get to our Oscar special, when we do our rankings, I might have a hard time with this one because I might really want to push it higher. But then again, we have 4 more movies left to watch, so I guess we're going to have to see when we get to them. So that is where I'm going to end it for now. That has been Past Lives. If you have seen this movie, what did you think about it? Did you cry a bunch? Did you not cry at all? Do you have any stories about, past loves that have come back into your life unexpectedly?
All the things that had to happen for you to meet your now spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend.
Give us a short version of these kinds of things that happened to you. Email it to neverseenitpod@gmail.com. We don't quite have any emails to talk about any of the Oscar movies we've covered so far, or at least ones that we haven't read yet, but we did get some responses about Maestro on our Twitter page. Betsy, why don't you go ahead with that?
Yeah, I put out the request to see where people felt, because I know that this is one where the critics really like it, the fans mixed reactions. So
Divisive.
I wanted to see what people said. Got a response from Matthew Anderson. He said, "I'm honestly surprised Cooper managed to make me cry again in his sophomoric effort as a director. And did I mention he and Mulligan are fantastic in their roles? 9 out of 10.
Okay then.
So yeah, that was a really positive review. And I've seen some going around where people are already putting out their order for the 10, and where this movie is placed is all over the board. It's been fascinating to see. We got another response from Holmes Movie Podcast. It's a beautifully made film with some great cinematography from Matthew Libatique. Bradley Cooper's direction is confident and brilliant, plus Carey Mulligan is wonderful as always. Having said that, it is a very superficial biopic that doesn't make you invest in the characters. Bernstein was a one-of-a-kind figure, as was Felicia, but the film doesn't do a good job in establishing them as people and their accomplishments in their respected fields. The screenplay really breezes through Bernstein's life and doesn't make us feel captivated with this love story.
Yeah, that's a good word. I think if you're going to describe how they are covering these two people's careers, it is kind of superficial. Like, yeah, she does some acting here and there, but they don't cover like all of the stuff that she was doing or like what kind of accomplishments that she actually had. All they're really showing here is how much she is in Bernstein's shadow.
Metaphorically and literally.
And physically. Yes.
But yes, thank you for those responses.
Yeah.
I love when people have contrary opinions to us, or they basically have a version of our opinion. You'll have to go back and listen to that Maestro episode if you have not already to hear our full thoughts. But anytime we cover a movie that is known to be divisive, I want to hear from the people who really, really like it and why. I also want to hear if we really like it, if you really don't, and why. Because sometimes I just want the outside opinion. I get a different perspective of the movie when you tell me that. Like, I didn't go to film school. I don't know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I genuinely just miss things. Sometimes we watch these Oscar movies and I feel like I'm just too dumb to get it.
And there's been a number of movies that you have watched the first time and didn't like it. In subsequent viewings, you like it much better because you have a different life perspective sometimes.
Or I talk to somebody who really likes movies and they point out something I completely missed that changes entirely how you view the movie. And I'm like, well, fuck me then.
I hear tell we have a listener out there that has a contrary opinion to us and the movie Licorice Pizza.
I found someone who loves this movie, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this because I want the opposite perspective. I really do, because it wouldn't be nominated for Best Picture if there wasn't a lot of people that found the qualities. And I'll listen. I might not agree with it, but I'm interested.
I'm here for any kind of contrary opinion, even if it's wrong.
You can be wrong. You might be right. We just don't necessarily agree on the topic.
Tell us about your wrongness at neverseenitpod@gmail.com. Twitter is, of course, neverseenit_pod. We are posting things all the time over there, as well as our Instagram page, neverseenitpod1. We don't talk about those pages all that much. The links are in the podcast description. You can find them. You are smart people because you're listening to Never Seen It. Only smart people listen to Never Seen It. I keep on saying that.
And only the smartest people spend their time doing 10 Oscar movies.
No, Betsy, the actual smartest people sign up at patreon.com/neverseenitpod.
Look what he did there, guys.
They can listen to 4 brand new shows that premiere once a week every Wednesday at patreon.com/neverseenitpod.
We've got the Never Seen It Movie Club. We've got Real Love. We've got Box Set. And we've got the Wayback Machine. Plus, bonus content whenever we've got it and feel like putting it up.
Speaking of Oscars, we put out a reaction podcast that we put up on our Patreon feed. It came out on the 31st. So if you want to get our initial reaction, we recorded it on the day that the Oscar nominations came out.
Listen to it weeks afterwards. It's fine. We're late to this party every single year. Waiting another day to listen to it is not going to make that big a difference.
Yes, indeed. So listen to that, all of that and more at patreon.com/neverseenitpod for $5. All that comes to you in your podcast app of choice.
We'd love for you to come and hang out with us. We're having fun. And you like to have fun, right?
We have a lot more fun over there because we can kind of play around with it. I will say this, the production value over there is a lot higher than what you're getting over here. I'm putting extra work into the editing over there.
What the hell is wrong with us?
Anyway, that is going to be the end of Past Lives for now. Come back next week where we're finally going to be able to cover the movie Poor Things.
We have been waiting literally months. Oh, it's now playing everywhere. My foot, it's playing everywhere.
Not where we are. Yes, Poor Things is going to be next week. So until then, this has been another episode of Never Seen It. My name is Trent.
My name is Betsy.
We'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.